few years ago, I was sitting in a local bar. Not that that's like an unusual occurrence, but I remember it was the end of February, and the Marlins and the Cardinals were in town for spring training. I live in Jupiter, Florida. And I'm sitting there, and this younger guy walks up, 30, maybe a little older, well-built, puts his hand on the stool next to mine and says, "Do you mind if I sit here?" And I'm like, "No." So I asked him, I said, "Are you a ball player?" And he said, "No, I'm in the Air Force." I said, "What do you do?" He said, "Special operations. I'm a combat controller." I said, "That's a tough job." And it was quiet for a while, and I just thought I'd ask. And I said to him, "You ever heard of SOG?" You know what he said? He said, "Every special operator has heard of SOG. We don't take those kind of risks anymore. We don't take those kind of risks anymore." And I thought that was about the best description of MACV-SOG that I had ever heard in one short sentence. The story of MACV-SOG is the story of sacrifice. When we look back on it, when I look back on it, I'm like, what put you back on those helicopters again and again? You knew how dangerous all these operations were. Probably if you're watching this movie, you've read the books. You can sum up almost every SOG mission the same way. A small number of Americans and indigenous go in to a target. Sooner or later, they get overwhelmed by the enemy, and there's this big firefight, and then there's a lot of air power, and either they get out or they don't. That was just it. So the question, that you ask yourself in your mind is, why'd you get back on the helicopters? You could quit SOG anytime you wanted to. And almost nobody did. So what kind of people were we? As you got into 1969, you knew they were withdrawing all the troops out of Vietnam. The place was starting to get empty. You could ride up a road and say, "Oh, there used to be a division here and nobody's here anymore." So you knew that they weren't playing to win, but they were betting your life every time they put you across the fence. And I think that none of us really know why we got back on those helicopters. Other than loyalty to each other, loyalty to our indigenous guys. We all loved our mountain yards. Every one of us, you had to think you were better than anybody else leading these people in order to keep doing it. And you kept telling yourself, if I don't go, somebody's going to get them killed. So I better go out and take this operation. And I think that was pretty much the entire mentality of the people who were in SOG.